great number. I'm concerned with the, 16% to 3% that don't pass. Those are the ones that are, running around the field that are going to get hit like that.
Now, are you looking to do JV and varsity?
Yes,
And do you know approximately how many?
I do. It's about speaking with the lacrosse coach. It's about 75 helmets. Could be a little less. And the average cost when you buy in bulk like that, when we go through the manufacturer directly, which we have the ability to do, especially the club has, that ability.
Right.
It's about $100 to $115 a helmet. So you're talking $7,000 to $8,000, which is, as we all know, when budget time rolls around, that's a very small amount for head safety. And then the recurring cost is, Mark would know better, but some of the research I've done and some of the guys that I know that get this done, it's about $25 a helmet each year, and you're not required to do it yearly. It can be every 2 years, which is going to weed out these 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old helmets that are being used right now.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, I know you some challenges of the district, maybe?
What's that? I'm sorry.
I'd like you to just speak upon, are there any challenges that you see?
Yeah, interesting enough, like Jim said, he and I spoke a little bit just before this. I want to clarify a couple of things. There's two things out there. There's recertification and reconditioning. What reconditioning consists of is basically cleaning the helmet, replacing any screws, whatever, that kind of thing. Recertification is making it NOC approved so it can be used. I did speak a while ago with the representative at Rydell who does our reconditioning for our football helmets. And I asked him regarding, because I wasn't familiar with the reconditioning process with lacrosse. He explained to me he can recondition and recertify any brand of football helmet. Rydell, Schutt, Rawlings, what other ones out? Zenith, any one. As far as lacrosse helmets go, he can recondition them, which would mean cleaning them and repairing maybe a screw loose, whatever it may be, but he cannot recertify all brands of lacrosse helmets. I don't have the brands he can and can't, but I did find that information out, which I thought was interesting. I just shared with Jim here a little while ago. Also, as far as the way the district, for those of you that were on the board about 2 or 3 years ago, you remember I made a presentation. It was, I think, in January or February of 2015, and we talked about the same subject across the board. I'll just clarify that we do have, as Jim said, lacrosse, all the helmets are personal. As far as football goes, the majority of kids use district-owned. We have a few that own personal helmets. They come, I invite the parents or email the parents, let them send them out for reconditioning. As far as baseball goes, those are district-provided helmets. Girls softball, they're using their own, even though we have helmets for them. I don't know, the reason being is, one, I know that baseball and softball, huge travel sports. Kids have their own equipment, bats, helmets, you name it. Lacrosse, huge travel as well. So I think, honestly, maybe with the girls, it's a thing with cleanliness. They don't want to use somebody else's helmet. I am really not sure why, but girls right now in the district are using their own. I do have plenty if they want to use them, offer them, and they typically use their own. Wrestling headgear, a few kids use their own. District usually provide, we buy 50, 60 pair a year to have headgear on hand for those kids that want it. So that's kind of a little, I guess, history of where we're at. And as Jim said regarding the school districts that provide helmets for lacrosse, I wanted to know, not being a huge lacrosse person over the years, and I wanted to know after I got down here talking to some athletic directors and wondering, what's the reasons why you don't provide those that don't? And one of the things that they were saying, and again, this doesn't need to be a reason, is that it is a travel sport. And if we give a helmet to Johnny March 1st, and he's playing travel the entire spring and maybe playing on the weekends in tournaments, you can't keep track of that helmet and how much that helmet's being used. So that's one of the arguments that was used by a couple of athletic directors I spoke with. So that's kind of the history of where we're at, why we're at, and safety needs to be first no matter what, even if it's a matter of making sure it's certified, properly, as Jim said. So again, we'll look into it, and if there's any questions, I'll field them and hopefully be able to answer them, or if you have any questions, you can email me, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I just wanted to speak to two of the things Mark said. The first thing about some of the districts who don't offer the helmets because some kids may use them in travel. I can tell you, all three of my kids, two who are in college now, and my son who's in the high school, plays travel and has played travel. And I can tell you, every team that we've been on requires us to buy that travel team's helmet, which really they do it because they want everybody to match. So they're all different colors. And there is not a single travel team on Long Island that uses a blue helmet. So even if they play travel, even if they had time to play during spring, which you don't play travel lacrosse during the spring, you play during the summer, which the school-issued helmets will already be handed in. And you play in the winter, which you won't have your helmet yet because the season doesn't start until March. So the travel reason, I think, can really be dismissed. As far as which helmets can get certified, the CPXR, which is the black helmet there that you guys looked at, that's probably the most commonly used helmet in all of lacrosse, college, high school, and youth. And that helmet can get recertified. And that's the one that we're talking about with the cost and the ones that we can get very quickly. Thanks.
When you say recertified, you mean by Rydell?
No, that's actually manufactured by a company called Cascade. Rydell makes...
No, just...
We said that would be the company we use to recondition or recertify.
Right, and there's probably thousands of companies, well, not thousands, hundreds of companies that do, helmet recertification. I just happened to look up one. I went to college. I played in college with a guy that his
Stayed in the business, so to speak?
his neighbor, his neighbor owns one. So they actually do that. They sanitize them. So the issue about I don't want my head to be in a helmet that's some other gross whatever is really not an issue because they sanitize them, they clean them, and they also do the recertification. They do them on those and on the STX Stallion. So we have two to go by. That's the least expensive, but it's the most widely used helmet. It's called the Cascade CPXR.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, any more statements from residents, Janice?
No.
Okay, so we don't have any old business, so we can move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. This morning, I was confronted by a social media rumor. Now, there's a lot of misinformation in social media, right? I discovered it amongst parents about information of things going on in the school district, and today, unfortunately, it dealt with a student at our high school who, on social media, it was stated that she passed away because of a suicide. Totally false, totally irresponsible by the individual who posted it. It caused a great deal of alarm and concern on the part of many, including perhaps the family. And I know all day I was dealing with texts and emails from colleagues in light of the fact of the tragedies we had earlier this year with the two suicides at our high school, that now another child committed suicide. There is an ill child who is being monitored very closely in the hospital. It's a medical concern, and the prognosis is not positive, but we're hoping for the best and praying for the best. But the misuse of, and please go home and talk to your children and talk to your neighbors, one another, the misuse of social media has become one of the biggest problems for school administrators and personnel that I've experienced in my career. It's totally out of control. Cyberbullying is a menace to how our schools are run, and I really think we have to take strong steps, and it's something that in the remaining time I have here in the district, I'll discuss with my colleagues and the Board of Education. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I mean, unfortunately, I got a message from a high school principal of a student becoming ill. Last week, we had to deal with a text threatening our high school or our schools. It didn't really specify the high school, that there was a potential shooting that would occur. We had another situation involving texting over the weekend involving a middle school student on Friday night at a PTO function that was indicating that the child was potentially harming himself. We deal with this all the time, and it becomes a tremendous distraction, and the students who are involved spreading this cannot focus on their schoolwork and what is most important going on in our educational settings, and it's got to stop. Today was nearly tragic. I walked into central office this morning, and the receptionist shared the information with me, and I said, I hadn't heard that, and I know the high school administration would contact me immediately, and I, in turn, would contact the Board of Education immediately, and then we would take the appropriate steps to inform those in need of to know. I immediately called the high school principal, who said, absolutely not. He had spoken to the parent, and the child was still with us. So we immediately took some steps to dispel the erroneous rumors that are out there. Whatever you can do to network with your neighbors and friends, community people we talked about here, and I appreciate Ms. Carlson's presentation in creating a sense of community here at Miller Avenue. Whatever you could do within this community to do everything to try and control social media and what it's doing. And it's not only on the part of students, it's on the part of adults sharing misinformation as well. Instead of checking with school officials and administrators, such as myself, and I'm open to hear from anybody, or perhaps Board of Education members, to get the truth about situations and not spread false rumors, because people believe it and then perpetuate it by embellishing the rumor. And the next thing you know, you have a story that's out of control and could be completely erroneous. Please, do whatever you can. We're going to work with our students, as we have been working with our students. And it would be greatly appreciated, because it's becoming an overwhelming concern for school administrators and teachers and staff members. On a happier note, I want to congratulate our high school students who were in the DECA national competition and who have been successful in moving on to a national competition. Melissa Manzello for apparel and accessories marketing, Ryan Zukowski for accounting applications, and Noli Plushow, I apologize.
That's okay.
For visual advertising. The valedictorian and salutatorian of the class of 2017, these are the two students with the highest grade point average. Our valedictorian is Anthony Peraza, and our salutatorian is Kyle Higgins. Congratulations to those two students. They were just announced today. Middle school will have its musical production starting, I believe, Thursday night, 7:30, and again on Friday, and I believe there's a Saturday performance as well, the Pirates of Penzance. Hope you can make it. I'm sure it's going to be a most worthwhile experience. And middle school students will be attending assemblies on acceptance and diversity later this month. And at Wading River, parent-teacher conferences are going on this week, and this is interesting. Second graders will be visiting Phil's restaurant this week. Just hope it's not during happy hour. Having a surprise server, and that would be Mr. Parinello. I'm not surprised. Bringing out some of the dishes for the kids as they learn about the importance of local community businesses. And the fifth graders at Wading River will be going over to the middle school to see the Pirates of Penzance this Friday. So very nice things happening, and as you can see, there are some really nice things going on here at Miller Avenue as well. Thank you.
Okay, now we have our 2017-18 budget discussion presentation.
Good evening. Here to pick up where we left off Thursday. There are two propositions on the May 16th, 2017 ballot. Proposition 1 is the proposed budget, and Proposition 2 is the authorization to establish a capital reserve fund. The goal of the 2017-18 budget is to support quality teaching, curriculum, and education that meets the community standards as well as the expectations. The 2017 budget preserves all current academic and interscholastic programs and broadens extracurricular offerings. Additional support will be provided for elementary psychologists. Could you guys see it back there? Or no? You good? AP capstone research, science research, math support at the secondary level, online databases and programs, a K-12 universal screener that will cover ELA as well as mathematics, as well as a one-to-one Chromebook pilot program. New clubs for 2017-18, there is a variety of clubs. They are going to span the elementary school with a introduction of an elementary world language club, going all the way to the high school, creating a robotics club. An important point to the 2017-18 budget lives in the debt service and transfer section. It includes the whole bond payment, both principal and interest, for the voter-approved referendum from January of 2015. Last year, the adopted budget was a 6% increase over the previous year's budget. This year, the proposed budget is a 3% increase over the current year's budget. This is on the expenditure side. The whole budget picture in a summary fashion shows that the expenditure budget is going up by 3%. The allowable tax levy, requiring only a simple majority vote, is going to be 4.6951%. Our state aid budget to budget is increasing 2.52%. The other local revenue, due to the loss of the LIPRA pilot, is going to be reduced by a little bit more than $1 million. The Brookhaven Industrial Development Agency is still trying to work through finalizing a pilot in order to restore a portion of the original pilot fund. But at this time, since it hasn't been finalized, it cannot be included as part of the revenue section for the 2017-18 budget. If it turns out that the pilot is finalized before we set the tax levy in November, we do have the ability to reduce the tax levy, assuming we have confirmation that we are going to receive that pilot. It's very similar to what happened in 2014 with the cross-sound cable pilot. We had anticipated a higher tax levy. However, the cross-sound cable pilot was finalized before we set the tax levy, so we set the tax levy to an amount that was reduced by whatever the finalized pilot amount is. As far as appropriating reserves and fund balance, we anticipate appropriating a little bit under $4.8 million for appropriated fund balance. We anticipate using $384,000 worth of the tax reduction reserve, employee retirement system reserve $550,000, unemployment reserve $104,000, and workers' compensation reserve. It's important to point out that the use of reserves and fund balance still at this time is an estimate. The allocation between reserves can change. On March 14th, we discussed 94.32% of the budget. We covered employee salaries, employee benefits, debt and transfers, district-wide expenses, transportation, and special education. Tonight, we are going to discuss the remaining 5.68% of the budget. Facilities, the budgeted amounts for specific utilities have been increased. There are various budget lines in the 17-18 budget that needed to be increased. Inside the Wading River School, with the introduction of a school kitchen, we do anticipate an increase in the utility bills there. We are seeing an increase in the overall electric utilities at the high school due to the introduction of the field lights. Equipment budget provides funding to allow for the purchase of a scissor lift with the extension deck. The equipment listed here is mainly to continue to support the district's needs. We have gone through a number of years where there wasn't equipment funding, so we are still in a catch-up phase. There is a truck with a lift gate and plow. This is to replace a 1996 F-350 rack truck. It has treated us well, but it's long past its useful life. There's numerous pieces of floor equipment. There is vibrational plate compactors related to maintaining the softball and baseball fields. There's additional walk-behind snow throwing equipment. There's a small lawn tractor with a plow. That's one for the Miller Avenue building, one for the Wading River building. With this introduction of the bus loops, there is going to be a lot more sidewalk areas, and in order to clean them efficiently and quickly, additional equipment is needed. Currently, to maintain the varsity baseball field, the JV baseball field, and the varsity and JV softball fields, we are using a piece of equipment that belongs to, I believe it's the Williams Foundation or the Kevin Williams Field Foundation. We need to purchase our own piece of equipment. We feel it is time the district purchase it. It will be used to continue to keep the fields in the best shape possible, as well as other small items, vacuums, squeegee machines, other pieces of facility-related equipment. There are also reductions related to one-time expenditures. These were included in the 16-17 budget that are no longer needed to be part of the 17-18 budget. In the 16-17 budget, there was funding for ADA lighting near the Kootenella Memorial Field. It pertained to the new ramp. We're going to make that purchase this year, so there isn't a need to include funding for the following year. There was funding for repair of two of the portables roofs over at the Briarcliff building. It isn't needed in 17-18. Improvements related to the old concession building at the Kootenella Memorial Field. Money was included for a middle school greenhouse project as well as a mobile concession trailer. All of this funding has been removed from the 2017-18 budget. Inside the technology budget, proposed budget maintains all programs and services from 2016 and 17. A good portion of this budget pertains to keeping the system working, whether it's the network, whether it's the firewall, whether it's the website, whether it's various database services for keeping track of kids, keeping track of special ed kids, or just access to online programs to support online textbooks. That is majority of this particular budget. However, for 17-18, to support the new initiatives, there has been increases added to the 17-18 budget. The increases total $174,000. There's the needed technology equipment to outfit the 4 new classrooms at Miller Avenue and the 4 new classrooms at the Wading River building. The bond is not able to include funding for that type of equipment, so it needs to be absorbed inside the operating budget. This will be a one-time expenditure, again, removed in 18-19, but it's part of 17-18's budget. There is the 1-to-1 Chromebook pilot program at the middle school. This is to purchase approximately 220 Chromebooks, user licenses as well as cases. We are in the process of finalizing our disaster recovery plan that was approved 2 years ago. As part of this disaster recovery plan, there is a redundant network operations center being installed at the middle school. In order to ensure that everything is operational, there has been added a redundant internet service to that particular building. The annual cost to that internet service needs to be included inside the 17-18 budget. There's additional funding for online databases, software, and programs, as well as license and maintenance related to the district's access control system. Curriculum and staff development. Continued development of Common Core and district-aligned curricula. We are continuing to develop curriculum in the elementary science area, projects for expanded advanced placement courses, updates to secondary English, social studies, as well as the home and careers curriculum. The 17-18 budget has been increased this year for workshops and conferences, professional development, a K-12 universal screener, both for the ELA and mathematics program, as well as equipment needed for some of the additions at the Miller Avenue and Wading River buildings. The budget has been reduced for a one-time expenditure related to a very large order of calculators that were needed on the secondary level. The net change in the curriculum and staff development budget is about $42,740. Athletics program remains unchanged from 2016-17. We still have 41 teams at the high school and 29 teams at the middle school. Here, the budget was reduced by approximately $40,000, directly tying back to one-time purchases. We had purchased new 5-star football helmets in 16-17, soccer goals, a blocking sled, as well as we anticipated purchasing a field mat cover. Community programs, pre-K through grade 12 student programs. 57 programs are offered. There are 5 new programs added. The five new programs are Snag Golf. In case you don't know what Snag Golf is, it is starting new at golf. It is an introductory program for the youngest kids in order to get an introduction into the sport of golf. Self-defense, floor hockey for grade 4, instructional badminton, as well as co-ed futsal, also known as indoor soccer. There's about 2,500 elementary students that participate and approximately 2,800 secondary students that are participating in the 16-17 school year. The adult education programs, there's 11 programs offered, and there are two new programs that are going to be introduced for 2017-18. One is adult badminton, and the other is adult line dancing. Current registrants for 16-17 are approximately 1,319 registrants across all 9 programs that are being run for 16-17. The summer camp, also known as Round Out, it varies from 150 to 200 registrants annually. The increase in this budget is $9,000. One of the things impacting community programs currently for the summer is space, because the Miller Avenue and Wading River buildings, as well as fields, will not have access. We're doing our best to squeeze everyone into the high school and middle school, and we will continue to do so, but this coming summer is going to be our toughest. I ask for patience from community, the board. We're doing our best to keep everyone active. At this point through community programs, we've covered more than 99% of the total budget. Health services from 2016-17 remain the same. It's funding for school physician and nursing services, health services for parentally placed students, athletic and annual physicals for students, equipment maintenance and replacement, and supplies and materials. The increase in this budget line is $577. The last budget category pertains to personnel. This pertains to the recruitment, training, and evaluation of staff. For this particular code, we do see an increase of approximately $25,000, even though it makes up 0.11% of the total budget. It does appear to be a large increase. There are new requirements to continue to stay compliant with the Affordable Care Act. We continue to need training related to the new APPR, as well as how to capture the required data in order to meet the compliance. We needed to upgrade to a newer version of our human. Okay, sorry. I don't have top that. And no more pictures for you. You're pictured out. You're pictured out. Just want to make sure we both agree here. I have no right eye. I have a twitch. Are we good? Okay.
Say that again.
Just one more second. So the additional funding pertain to Affordable Care Act compliance, the upgrade and training needed to our HR, to our human resource software, as well as we are adding an additional BOCES service, which is a recruitment fair. It gives us the opportunity to go out, present to a large group of people that come to attend a recruitment fair, and possibly meet new upcoming teachers, new upcoming staff. It's a good opportunity. We think it's important to include in the 17-18 budget. Your question? Could you help me, Brian? How are we doing with the recruitment of substitute teachers?
It's ongoing.
Thanks.
Summary of go ahead.
It's a premium service, this recruitment fair.
The recruitment fair is definitely an add-on. We are trying it for the first time. We think it's a positive step.
Yeah. Is it, covers teaching positions or?
Please.
It's done through BOCES.
Yeah.
Okay, it's, districts, they will go, and it's done on a Saturday, it's done on the weekends, and then it's the ability to get a jump on anticipated vacancies that you might have. So I've used it in other districts, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, but only teaching vacancies or other?
No, it could be administrative vacancies, but the majority of it is for teaching.
So reviewing one more time this summary of expenditures between the March 16th meeting and tonight's meeting, we covered the entire budget. The budget is a 3% increase, totals to $2,177,858 over the 2016-17 budget. It is half of the expenditure increase that the 16-17 budget was, and it's important to point out it does include the full bond, principal, and interest payment. Any questions? Summary again tells you where the funding is coming from. I want to go over one more time the 2017-18 tax levy limit calculation. I think it's important to continue to point out that the tax levy isn't something the district creates. It is a formula-driven process. For a simple majority vote, the district is not proposing to pierce the tax cap, and our allowable tax levy limit with exclusions is 4.6951%. So we are not piercing. We only need 50% plus 1 in order to pass the budget. The calculation includes the payment of the $33.5 million bond. It includes the expiration of the LIPR, also known as J-Power Peaker pilot, as well as the new pilot that's recently added the Shoreham Solar Commons pilot. Calculation includes the building aid offset also. I go into the calculation in a little bit more detail here, that our tax levy limit before allowable exclusions is a negative 2.3507%. So if we did not have any capital exclusions, we would actually have to reduce our tax levy by $1,200,000. However, we have a capital exclusion related to the 2007 energy performance contract payment. We have a capital exclusion related to the second energy performance contract, 2014. We have a capital exclusion related to the bond principal and interest. With the reduction of the building aid offset, that's how the district goes from a negative 2.35% up to a 4.6